We're going to talk now about this week. How do we get more momentum, right? What does it mean? All the things that we've been leading up to, we're talking about marketing, which is really connection. We're talking about marketing, which is really communication. We are going to be talking about how to do that with a bigger bolt of lightning, right? How do we create some kind of an event? How do we create something around marketing so that we can work smarter and not harder? So Colleen, I'll let you share your screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's your sound share. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Let me turn that off. I'm doing something.
I think it's okay now. It was just,
yeah,
we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shine your light. This is the whole theme here. Don't stop believing. Be visible. Shine your light. You're needed. Let's go.
Exactly. Week number 9, everyone. Oh my goodness. We're still talking build your audience. And like Kathy just said, we're going to continue on along where we left off last week with the email. Not to worry, we'll touch on that. But then we're going to start talking about events as another layer and another level to just expand your visibility and your reach and your impact that you're having in connecting with people and making your mark in the world with all of your gifts that you have to share. So our usual framework that we've all gone through and we kind of circle through, we're constantly going through. And so much of when we're executing in showing up and being visible is all of these things together, right? We're problem solving, we're building empathy, we're giving solutions, right? We're offering offers to make profit, we're listening and learning to iterate and come up with new ideas. So all of these things, as we get to this point in our journey, they all start to work together all at once to continue helping us move forward.
Mm-hmm. This is a great quote. Discomfort brings engagement and change. Discomfort means you're doing something that others were unlikely to do because they're hiding out in the comfortable zone. Being aware of your fear is smart. Overcoming it is the mark of a successful person. Type a 1 in the chat. You don't have to say who, but type a 1 in the chat if you can think of someone, if you know somebody who hides out in the comfort zone. Yeah. Their genius is not going to be found over there. The mark they're going to leave on the world is not going to be over there. Yeah. Discomfort means you're doing something that others were unlikely to do. Yeah, that's leadership. That's good. Great quote. Love me some Seth.
Yeah, so good.
So I think, Colleen, I think we should circle back to this piece tonight. I think we should for sure do it because we said that we would, but I think that we should do I think we should talk about the marketing stuff just for big picture. And then we will sort of shore up, that's Colleen's expression, like start talking like her. We will shore up the email stuff. Okay, guys. So we're going to do that. But let's go into what are marketing events. Okay, let's go into what are marketing events. So what do we have so far? We have an offer. We have one-to-one, testing it one-to-one. We have started building an Instagram. We're talking about giving people the next little deposit through a freebie. So what would be an event? So Colleen, I'm going to let you run through a little bit of this and then I'm going to chime in.
Yeah, for sure. So basically in its simplest form, the idea with an event, right, which is different than like say the freebie opt-in you guys were working on last week, is that it takes place at a specific time. Okay, there's an exact moment. So it could be something as simple as you're going to go live on Instagram or Facebook at a specific day and time. Maybe you're coordinating a little multi-day challenge, like a lot of you went through the Your Soul's Calling challenge. That was a 5-day challenge. That was an event. It could be a free workshop, could be a webinar. It could even be a summit like Kathy had this past week. So loads of different ways that we can interact. Some are like small scale, some are bigger scale, but all really revolve around you being live at a specific date or time.
And I will just say that even at this stage in the game where I am at, I often have to remind myself of the same lesson where I will say to Colleen, let's just email everybody and ask them if they want to sign up for Made to Do This. We even had a wait list for Made to Do This where people specifically went to the Made to Do This website when Made to Do This was closed, which it's closed quite often, and said, I want to do it the next session, talking about over 1,400 people who had signed up for that. We then emailed them, right? Without an event, just an email, right? The 5-day challenge came later. That was the event. But we sent an email. Would you like to now get off the wait list and join? And we had a fraction of those people do that. Maybe a couple hundred people. Okay. Off of a list of people who said, I want to do this. I am telling you, I want to do this. When we do other things where somebody hasn't signed up for a wait list and we just offer the list something, it's an even smaller amount. However, if I were to do some kind of an event, a 1 hour live, a 90-minute workshop, a three-day session, the conversion it's night and day. Why do you think that is? Tell me in the chat, why do you think that is so different? Somebody getting an email where they're notified about something, somebody seeing an Instagram post where they're notified, or somebody going through. So you said intimacy, engagement, participation. Yeah. Okay. So I want to teach you something. Inertia. Okay. An object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. We need to participate. We need to put skin in the game. The more skin we put in the game with either our energy or our time, the more we want to keep doing that. We need to feel the intimacy. We need the momentum. We are emotional beings. We are biological. We are not logical. So if you tell someone something, so they read something, well, how much connection do they feel with an email? Not much, but they might feel connection with you, which then lingers. But in that moment, the last time they heard you speak was maybe an hour ago on a podcast, which was passive, or 3 days ago when they caught you live. But if they're with you in the moment, like we just danced it out to Don't Stop Believing, and I on the spot was crying with you, and that was real for me, and you felt something. And then if 40 minutes from now, I were to tell you that I'm doing something else, you're going to feel very differently than if you were to read me talking about what I just said in an email and then me sending you to a link where you can buy something. Let's put it this way. Everybody and their mother wants to talk about evergreen things that are passive income. If that worked as well as people tell you it works, they wouldn't be launching. You wouldn't see B School launching. You wouldn't see Amy Porterfield launching. You wouldn't see Target putting up another sale. You wouldn't see Bloomingdale's having a Labor Day, come on in, here's a coupon, come on, with posters all over the entrance of the store. You wouldn't see a launch. You wouldn't see an event if that just could work. But it's almost a good thing that it doesn't work, because what it teaches you is, as humans, boy, are we suckers for connection. And so, as Kelly said during the summit, she launches every 6 to 8 weeks. Now, you don't have to launch the way that I launch when I'm launching a 5-day challenge. I also launch tomorrow night. I'm going to do a 90-minute workshop, which will provide value to my community. So that's already a win. And at the end of it, I will tell people about this thing called the Quitters Club, which is a product that people can buy. It's sort of a passive product, right? I don't show up, I don't coach, there's no mentors, it's pre-recorded. But what's nice about it is people can start dipping their toe and getting some work done, and then they can take Made to Do This when they're done with that. In any case, a 90-minute workshop will go a long way, right? I did my friend Sherry Salata, I did a workshop with her to show her how possible this is about 2 weeks ago. And at the end, she had 250 people sign up. And that was pretty significant, right? And when she had done it, the same person with the same offer, she had done it before with just emails, she had a fraction of those people sign up, okay? So we have, and thank you guys all for the kind words. So we have to get that we have to walk the walk. Okay. We have to show up. Allison Prince was on during the summit. She's extremely lovable. She's very down to earth. Now, when I met Allison a few years ago, she didn't like to go live and to talk because she always felt that that was her weakness. She's actually become so successful when she shows up live because she's so earnest and because she's just a mom with kids in the background and people relate so much to her. So since I met her, I encouraged her, implored her to start launching live. And she went from making 7 figures over a year to 7 figures in a launch in 5 days. And she's like, I cannot believe what you showed me what to do. And I said, yeah, because that connection, it's almost better if there's no script. It's almost better if you're not curated. Lean in to who you are. Now, it doesn't have to be 5 days. Like I said, I'm doing one tomorrow night. That's 90 minutes. I was live today on Instagram. I just popped in and I wasn't really using that to launch, but let's say I would have started with, hey, this is Kathy Heller, Quitters Club, kathyheller.com/quitter. I wanted to get into today the 3 things you need to quit your job. And at the end, I would have said, follow me, kathyheller.com/quitter. Go check it out. And we would have gotten 8 or 9 people just from one live, just sign up. Imagine if you did that every day. Now, you don't have to go live every day. You don't have to launch every day. But I do want you to understand that people will complain about why their businesses are not moving forward. They're literally just not putting out their offer. They're just, it's like that bulletproof vest, that vest that they give us when we go into the X-ray machine. It's like you carry that vest of like resistance, so heavy. So we're going to walk through today what this could look like for you. And here's the good news. The more you do it, just like French kissing, remember before you actually kiss somebody, I remember saying to my friend Kelly, that's so gross. How do you do that? It's just the weirdest thing. And she's like, don't worry, when it happens, you'll know what to do. I'm like, I don't understand. It's so weird. And then of course you just figure it out. I didn't have my first kiss till I was 15, but by then somehow I figured it out. You don't have to do this well to do it right. That's the truth. People just want to meet people and connect with a real person. And so we're going to help you tonight. We're going to spoon feed you. And at some point you have to make the commitment to just jump in the water or you don't. But the longer you stand on that diving board and you keep looking at the water, it just gets scarier and scarier and colder and forget it. You're not going in, right? When you decide to go in, you're going to go, okay, so this is what it's like to put my stake in the ground and let go. Really let go of being codependent, because it's amazing to me how many people will not go live, will not launch their business because what people are going to say, as if that's all about you. Like you're responsible for everyone's reaction. You're responsible what people say. It's all personal. It's like, it's so not about us, right? So I'm going to mute this person. So we're going to walk through, Colleen, let's walk through some ways that we can start to understand how we can make this right for us where we are right now.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, Kathy just talked through this about why it's so important. And this is the thing, you guys, you'll see so many different approaches out there online. Like you need to have like fancy sales pages, or you need to have like everything dialed in, or this, that. But like Kathy says, when you show up live, you don't have to have everything right. It's actually ironically the most forgiving way to engage your audience and connect with them. You get to just be you, you get to do it messy, and it gets to be the most impactful and most effective way that you're actually going to move your business forward. So just watch for that. Watch for that urge to feel like all the ducks need to be in a row, or everything needs to be set up perfectly before you can go do this, because no, all that other stuff is not as important as you just being there, present in the moment, and sharing that space and wisdom and connection with other people. That's what's going to sell for you.
So should we go through these? When you offer a live event at a specific time, it creates the opportunity for even deeper connection and intimacy than downloadable opt-ins. That's obvious. Remember Kelly said she had been driving when she was in a Fortune 500 company. She would drive from sales call to sales call at different people's offices. And that's what sales calls used to be. When Howard Schultz was on my podcast, he said, I used to do cold calling when cold calling meant walking into someone's FedEx office and asking if they wanted to be a client. That was a cold call. First of all, how many can you get done in a day? Think about pharmaceutical reps. How many places can they actually get to in a day? Okay, they can get to 7, 8, 10, right? They're exhausted, right? You can go live, you can talk to 10 people a minute. It's such a gift. So, and the same rules still apply because the technology might be different, but the human part is still the same. Two human beings, therefore wanting to connect, wanting to see that this person has a heart, is real, has a little charisma, it connects with them, has courage, and they kind of decide this person's for me, this person isn't for me. When you're live, your audience can tap fully into the energy of the experience and the community from others being present. Remember, people don't buy things, they buy how they want to feel, right? So that's important that you have the conviction, even if, how many times are you just watching some girl just be authentic and like show up and dance it out or like talk in her car? How many of those videos have we all watched? They're so good. I can think of so many of them when somebody pulls out of the Starbucks drive-thru and just goes on a rant, whether it's about the government or it's about being a mom or it's about her sex life. And you're just like, yes, girl, preach, right? How many of those videos have you seen? You're in love with them because they're in their car. It's so real. It's your favorite, right? It is your favorite. Me too. It's like, I almost wish I just would go live in the car because it's so honest. It's so honest. And Colleen said this to me today. She's like, Kath, it's so great though. Cause like when you go live, you kind of just like, you'll be wearing, whatever, and you talk about life. And then you happen to talk, because usually when people go live, they're like, here are the 3 things, blah, 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 which is, it's great. It's great to do that because people can know what they're going to get and they love coming for a certain piece of content. But if you can give them the content and also just be a normal person, it's like, oh, hallelujah. I can't believe somebody can just be normal. Live events always convert sales more powerfully than anything automated due to the momentum and intimacy of the experience. Yes. Okay. So you want to go over where to start?
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be scary. We want you to start so simple. And basically, we want you to just pick a day and a time, ideally this week, when you're going to go live on Instagram. Okay. If your audience is on Facebook, that's cool. You can go live on Facebook. Okay. It doesn't matter where, but just you're going to pick a day and a time and you're going to commit. You're not going to panic or worry about, is anyone going to even see this or is anyone even going to tune in? That is less important than you actually taking this first step to show up live, to commit to it, and to practice it, to just do it, to start moving. It does help to announce it ahead of time, to share about it ahead of time, right? So again, even if you don't have a ton of people following you on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you are at, share about it, okay? Do a couple posts leading up to it saying, hey, everyone, on Friday at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern, I'm going to be going live and I'm going to talk about X. And we'll talk about some of those ideas in a minute. If you have an email list, some of you do, some of you don't, doesn't matter where you are. If you do, awesome. Email them, tell them as well where you're going to be live, what time you're going to be live at. Okay. It can be gentle. It doesn't have to be super formal, but it's just, hey, heads up. I want you to know about this. This is happening this week. At the end, Kathy just mentioned this when she was talking about sort of a general sort of structure. You're going to make your offer, okay? And it can feel scary because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to say it. What am I supposed to say? How do I say that? How do I do that? It's literally the same thing that you guys have from that week 4 workbook that you did, where you made your little free mini offer. You can print that out and you can have that by you. Okay, so you can reference it if you need to, whatever makes you feel comfortable, but it doesn't have to be long and convoluted, but it's just a very soft way of saying, hey, are you struggling with this? And do you kind of want to have this happen instead? Awesome, well, send me a DM. I can help you do that with blah, blah, blah. So don't be afraid. to make that offer, because it's just another way of practicing it. Up until now, we've been messaging it or emailing it or texting it out. But we want you now to practice also verbally starting to share that with people.
And you can engage them. You know, when you first hop on, remember that the algorithm, it takes people a minute to know that you're live, right? So you'll go live, and then whoever happens to be on who follows you will start to see that you're live. So give people a minute. So in the first minute that you go on, maybe you want to say, hey, this is Kathy, kathyheller.com. I host a show called Don't Keep Your Day Job. Just reintroduce yourself, whatever that is for you. You know, hey, this is Tara. I make gluten-free cheesecakes. I'm at taracheesecakes.com, you know, or you don't have to have all of that, just whatever you want to say. So then maybe you say, some low-hanging fruit questions are like, where are you guys watching from? You know, or type a 1 in the chat if you know, get them excited. Now, by the way, when you do that and people actually type a 1, or they tell you where they're listening, I'm listening in Atlanta, Delaware, that's good for the algorithm, because it will make it sort of start populating. More people will find out that you're alive. So you might want to just think about engaging people, but not only that, people like to feel that it's a two-way conversation and not just a monologue. And then you might want to get into sort of like the meat of what it is. But I'm telling you what, when people go off script, it's the best. So let's say you're there because you're going to teach people like the 3 ways to, you know, be more green, be more eco-friendly. Before you do that, you might want to say something totally off script about something crazy that happened this morning. Even if you think it's so dull, it's not. People like things that they relate to. So it's like, well, I got locked out of the car and it was so stupid because I know that this always happens, but it happened again. I'm telling you, be a human being. Be a human being. You know, whatever you want to talk about. I probably wouldn't say something political or polarizing or anything like that, just because that just alienates people, right? But I would talk about life. I would talk about life. And then you want to get into your couple things. And then you close it with what you're offering. You know, you guys, right now, I'm so excited because I'm offering X, Y, and Z. And you're going to practice doing this, right? Seth Godin says we tell bad stories long enough until we tell a good story. It's like my little girl, you know, she's 4.5. She makes up jokes. And my husband and I it's adorable because it's never really a good joke, but it's so cute that she's like trying to make up what a joke is. And she's like, right, get it? He didn't cross the street. I'm like, okay. You know, you figure it out until you really do it so well. You do it so well. You can also, if you don't want to offer the cheesecake, you could say a call to action, you know, DM me if you want to set up a free consultation. DM me if you want a free sample. DM me, blah, blah, blah. Great. Now, if you go live on Instagram, you can then decide afterwards to share it in your feed. It'll give you that option. That's great, because then when you post it in your feed, in the caption, you can tell people to DM you if they want the information, if they want the further this, if they want the free this, if they want more about blah, 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 if they want to claim their such and such. And of course, the same thing with Facebook. You can leave it there and put that as a caption. Colleen, I want to give you a chance to talk to.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, like Kathy says, even if you're using a topic, which we'll talk about in a minute, some general angles you can go, it's good for getting people there, right? Because people always have a problem and they want their problem fixed. And so, yeah, if you dangle the carrot as like there's a topic you're going to cover, great. But as soon as people are there, they're not there to sit down for a class ultimately, right? It's like Kathy says, they want to feel you, they want to connect in with you. And sometimes it feels very counterintuitive, like, am I wasting people's time if I just riff on like what my one kid did today? It's like, no, you're not. Those are those moments that make you so relatable and so human. So don't skip those. Don't bypass those because somehow they maybe seem tangential or not on topic. They are on topic because it's always that blend of you and your lifestyle and your personal self with the authority of the content that you're going to share. It's a fusion of the two.
Yeah, my friend Nicole Walters the other day, this is such a good example. So she's a brilliant business woman. She actually helps people. Her program, I think, is like 1K in one day, 1K a day or something like that. And the other day she posted a picture of her crop top and talked about how she's like just like so proud of herself because she went from a size 16 to a size 10, I think, something like that. And she then said, I also would like to say that when I wasn't a size 10 and I was a 12 or a 14 or a 16, I proudly also had a crop top on. And she showed pictures in her stories of like different moments. And somebody sent her this like hate in her story, in her DM. So she, she crossed out the person's name, but it said something like, why do you think that you can show this off, or is it appropriate, or something like that. And she was like, it's totally my prerogative. And then friends, or not, people who follow her started sending in pictures of themselves with their own crop tops. And some of you guys, I think, saw it. And she started resharing women of all sizes, 2, 4, 6, 12, 14, 16, with crop tops on, at the beach, at a party, just like being themselves. Is so cool. My friend Nicole Walters. I would say, just from knowing Nicole for a few years and like watching her, I think that's 90% of the reason people love her. She does go off topic. Her off topic is the topic. Like, people love that she's like, let me tell you about my daughters. Let me tell you about what it's like to adopt kids. Let me tell you what it's like to have a crazy manny. They have a nanny that's a manny. Like, people love her. And then she brings the fire. When she talks about business, she brings the fire. But oh my God, how boring is it to be like, this is the person. She's got business prescriptions for me. It's like, after a while, like we were talking today, I'm obviously not going to name names, but there are people who, when you watch them, you're like, okay, they're doing this because they know they have to do this. And you can tell that they're doing this because this is what their team told them to go live and to do. And it feels very inorganic. And that's why if you look at the engagement or whatever else, people are like, Now, why, at the end of the day, why would people not want to go live? Tell me in the chat. What do you think is really at the core of why someone doesn't want to go live? Yes, 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 yes. And it's so uncomfortable, and it's so unpleasant, and it's so scary. And the word for that is shame. Who am I to do this? Exactly, Judith. It's shame. It's like, I'm insecure. I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed of my body. I feel ashamed of what I'm going to say. I feel ashamed of my offer. There is no healthy place for shame. If you read Brene Brown's research, everything else there is a place for. Fear, we can hold space for. Sadness, grief, shame is so toxic. It is such a burden. It takes so much of the life that you wish to have. It's like, how about not today? Not today, shame. That's why people love Nicole Walters, because they're like, here's a girl in her crop top when she was a size 14. She's like, hey, y'all, hey. Just me being me. What a gift. What a gift. Right? And now when she talks about it, she's like, I've been up and down with my health. I really want to be healthier. I've got kids, and I know I don't need the sugar, and I know I don't need all this stuff, but boy, was I cute in a size 16. I was still real cute. I could just cry because she is, right? She is. So your kids need that. Your daughter needs that. Your friend who's given herself such a hard time, Oh, I just saw a friend of mine who's the complete extreme opposite. She's literally, she has no skin on her. I don't even know. She weighs nothing. She's like a feather. And she was talking about having gained the COVID-19, like she hasn't gained anything. Like she's literally this big and she's like pounding the, the shakes and the this and the that and the, and there's so much of it. And I mean, it's fine. Like if that's what people want to do and that really makes them feel great, great. Like I want people to feel great. Like there are people that are into that. That's a good thing. We shouldn't shame that either. That's so great. Honestly, I know people who are so good at taking care of themselves and it's amazing and it is inspiring. But then there's the other side of the coin where there's so much self-hate and there's so much shame. And what are we doing about that? Right? What are we doing about that? So, yeah, Beth, you're right. Beauty has nothing to do with size. I remember my grandmother, we used to go to the checkout counter at any, whatever the grocery store was. We're checking out Albertsons, Publix, whatever. And she would always say to the woman or the man behind the checkout, "You are so beautiful. Look at when you smile." And then they would smile. And I would say, "Oh my God, she's right." Like when she would first say it, I was like, why does she do that? That's condescending. She tells everyone they're beautiful. How can everybody be beautiful? That's such a weird thing to do. And then they would smile and they were so beautiful, right? Think of it in your mind. Think of a slideshow of every kind of person, every kind of face smiling at you. It's beauty. It just is, right? It doesn't really matter. So, we have to get rid of the shame. And then you're going to say, "Oh no, it's not about the way that I look. It's my words. I'm not ready. I don't know what to say." It's like, when was the last time you saw a friend and you sat down for coffee and you didn't know what to say? Of course you know what to say. When you're relaxed, when you don't have to perform, when you don't have to get an A plus, of course you know what to say. In fact, that's why I find it much more relaxing to not really overly prep. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to talk about this topic and then I'm just going to go live. And I know that if I'm relaxed, just like I was talking to a friend who walked in the room, I would say, "Hey," or "How was the day?" or "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what a weekend it was." And I would just start to talk and I would be relaxed. And when you're relaxed, when you are in fight or flight, you are so stressed out. There is no repair going on in the body. There's nothing inspirational. There's no safety. You can't relax. If you could just relax, your body will calm down and get out of the way, and you'll be able to just be a human being. And people will be excited to talk to you because people are lonely and they want to talk to real people. That's it. So I would think of like something that happened in the day. What do they do? Celebrity talk show hosts, right? Scarlett Johansson, she's sitting on the couch, and Seth Meyers is like, of course she's there to promote, let's say, some movie. But before that, he goes, "So tell me what happened. I heard you went with your son to the fair." And it's like, "Oh, it was hilarious." And it's all set up and it's all staged, but they always ask them to prepare some real story about their real life. And that's how they're hoping to relate so that the audience isn't like, they're really here on a press junket. Like, this is really just so we go see this movie. So there's a little bit of truth in that, although we can do it for real. Like, we don't have to make it staged. Like, you can just be real and normal and people will love it. And that's how my friend Jamie Kern Lima built a $1.2 billion business. Can you just think about that for 1 second? I know that for lots of seconds in the day, like hundreds and thousands of seconds, you think about how it probably won't work, how probably this is so stupid. Could you just think about for 1 second, but like all in? I want you all in for 1 second. I want you all in on that thought for 1 second. A Denny's waitress, a girl who was a Denny's waitress, a girl who was given up for adoption, didn't find out she was even adopted till she was an adult, a girl who struggled her whole life to realize, to figure out, why do I feel so foreign to this mother? What's going on? Why do I have an ache in my chest? Why am I a Denny's waitress? I have rosacea on my skin. That girl, that just middle America girl, right? That girl sold her company for $1.2 billion, billion with a B, billion with a B. Okay. So just for 1 second, can you think about, whoo, how would that feel if that reality was waiting for you on the other side of you just getting out of the shave game. Oh my God, doesn't it like take your breath, like knocks your breath out of your chest? You're like, oh, wow, with that, I really could help Haiti. I could probably rebuild Haiti. Oh my gosh. And the money would be remade by the time you finish building it because it made money in the bank. That's how much money she makes while she's sleeping, just because it's sitting in a bank account on the interest. It's insane. Like her grandchildren won't ever have to work because the money's making money while the money makes money more money. It's insane. So this is a very powerful tool. And shame, unfortunately, is more powerful than everything else. You know what Edith Eger told me? She is a Holocaust survivor. She wrote these 2 amazing books, The Gift and the Choice. I had her on the podcast. Oprah loves her. Everybody loves her. She is love. There's nothing to not. She's just a walking angel. She said she realized 40 years after the concentration camp that there was nothing the Nazis did to her that was as bad as her prison in her own mind, constantly holding her down, constantly keeping her from herself, constantly. That's a very big thing to say. That's a giant thing to say. And she became a psychologist in her 40s, and now she's in her 90s. So she's been doing this for 50 years, and it's shame. So what if I told you that while you're working towards building a business and everything else, you could actually have the greatest freedom tomorrow? You give it to yourself. You set yourself free. And then instead of saying, I want my husband to get me, I want my friends to get me, I want the world to get me, you turn that around. I want to get me. And when you're full inside, now everybody shows up. Different energy. Different, right? So as Colleen is saying, there are things that help this to work even better. We can set ourselves up to succeed more. So letting people know that you're going to be there, great. What if you even get into a habit where you start going live once a day or once a week? What if you go live once a week, and then every 6 weeks, you do a 90-minute workshop, and every 12 weeks, you start doing a 2-day thing. Maybe you collaborate with somebody else. She brings her people, you bring your people. Maybe you try it many different ways. Maybe you just say to yourself, if there is a week on the calendar and there's nothing live in it, that's not going to happen. And you just make it a point to have your heart beat fast and show up for something that scares you, because now you know, no matter what, come Friday night, you're going to grow this week. You're going to get your steps in. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, and one thing too, I know some of you are asking things like, well, how long should these be? It's the same thing. You just show up in your energy, in your space, particularly for these first ones, and just go. And if it's only 15 minutes for your first one, awesome, amazing. You did a 15-minute live. If you wind up talking for 40 minutes or 16 minutes, amazing. You did a 40 or 60-minute live. That's less important than it is to get into the process and just be in the moment. Try and just roll with where you are at and what you are sharing, and if there's anybody there. And you know what? If there's nobody there, that's okay. Run that live like there's a million people there, because people can watch the replay back afterwards. It's going to go on your feed. It's going to be there. You can tell people about it after the fact and still share it with them. So don't let that rattle you or deter you or have those voices.
You can go 5 minutes. People are saying 10 to 15 minutes. You don't have to go for 10 to 15 minutes. You can go for 3 minutes. 3 minutes is fine. Whatever works for you. Honest to God. 3 minutes, if that's where you're at, do 3 minutes. And the next day, try to do 4. right? And it really isn't about how long you're on there. It's about how much you drop in to you. And it takes a second to get comfortable and familiar with the technology and da-da. So try it every day if you have to, till you are comfortable, because it's not about them, it's about you. So if you need the time to practice, you say, I'm getting this practice in because this is my life. This is my freedom, right? And I'm not going to worry so much about, oh my God, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like, I got to get this done in order for me to help all those people I want to help rise, right? In order for us to give, in order for us to have empathy for other people, we have to have the capacity to have more empathy for ourselves so we have what to give away. So if you're stuck in shame and self-doubt and all that, and you're so focused on yourself, you don't have anything to give to somebody else. You need to have a little extra for you so that you can give that extra away, right? And so it starts with, let's get the practice in. Let's get the steps in. Before you know it, you know what it is with these things? It's so much faster of a learning curve than you think. It's like driving. Do you remember before you learned to drive and you were like, oh my gosh, that feels so daunting? And remember turning onto a street where there were other cars already, and you were like, oh my God, forget it. I'm going to crash. After a few days in the car, you're like, oh, can I learn stick shift? Like, this is actually boring. Like, it's not hard. It's like, yeah, right. The learning curve is pretty quick. I think you're going to get it. And another thing that you can do, because I see you guys talking about collaborating with each other, why don't you pick someone in your pod and go live on each other's Instagram feed? So you can say, hey, this is Kathy. And hey, Sarah, what's up? Sarah, tell me more about what you're doing. Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this. Tell me what you're doing. Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this. Is there something funny that happened to you today? Oh yeah, this was kind of funny. I don't know. What happened to you? Let me think. Oh, well, what was really weird is that I thought I ordered one thing and Postmates brought me the wrong food. And I was like, I don't even want this. Whatever. Why don't you go live on each other's feed just to start wherever you can? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things that's so amazing too about if you find someone, and when Kathy just means go live on one another's feed, it means find a buddy, find a partner, someone in your pod or in the group, wherever, and then you pick one of your Instagrams, one of you goes live, and then they can bring you on with them, right? And so then it's like the two of you are both there kind of talking away. And sometimes that feels like less self-conscious to us if we're nervous at first, because there's somebody else there for us to play off of, right? And connect with. And you get the added boost that maybe if you reverse do it, you know, you're kind of each getting exposed to each other's circles as well, which is kind of fun too. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. It's a fun way of keeping things like connective and light. You could do a Q&A and you might be like, well, I don't even have audience questions. You can just make one up. You can just think about like, what would somebody like, I don't know, maybe you teach people how to, you know, make green smoothies and, you know, eat healthy. Maybe you'd be like, okay, well, I don't know, people would always ask me about what my favorite recipe is. So just go, you know, okay, a question I get all the time is like, what's my best recipe? Like, how can I make this not taste like it's super healthy, but more like it's a treat? And just make it seem like you have a question and then just riff on that and answer it. You can keep it casual.
You can also ask 3 people. You can text or DM or put it on your Facebook profile or put it in your Instagram stories and say, hey, I'm doing a training or I'm going to go live and talk about something. Would you rather me talk about this or this? Would you rather me talk about this kind of content or that kind of content, this thing or that thing? Or you can DM or ask people this question, you know, what would you be interested in? Give them a couple topics and just see what they say and just go with that for now. Just go with that for now.
Yeah. You can make it personal things like lessons you've learned, right? Like just so not like, you know, it doesn't have to be like life moving, but you know, just a simple thing, you know, this random thing happened the other day at the grocery store and it taught me, you know, a new perspective on what it means to be, you know, thoughtful or courteous or tolerant or patient or whatever, right? Like we have so many moments of experience in our day-to-day lives where we learn lessons, and really all of that is relevant to anything on how all of us show up in our businesses. And so just share something about that, okay? And that is a beautiful, simple way to also kind of bond and connect in with people. You can talk about your journey, right? So if you were, I don't know, like a weight loss coach and you went through your own journey, okay, just talk a bit about that journey and what that looked like. Share your story. Talk about different challenges you came up against. Okay, that's interesting. That's connective. That's helpful for people to hear what your background and your experience was. 3 easiest ways, these are things where it's like, you don't have to get super didactic and you don't have to have like all your bullet points written out, but you might kind of think in your mind like, oh yeah, like I would tell people like the 3 easiest ways to, get your baby to nap when it's, you're out and about with an older child, right? And so you can just gently, casually just sort of say, yeah, so, make sure to bring a blanket so that you can like cover over the front of the stroller with it, right? They don't have to be like super involved, but you can just have a very vague, rough idea ahead of time if you want of a few things you want to share. You can do it with myths and mistakes, like some mistakes people make or some misconceptions that people have. You can take people behind the scenes of your office, sort of show them around, right? Take your phone, turn it around, film it, show them around, show them what things look like. If you're an artist, what your workbench looks like. All that stuff is actually exciting and interesting for people to see and experience. Most important is just to hit the live button. And it's kind of funny, but I always feel like it's the anticipation of doing it that feels so much worse than once you've just hit the button in your life, right? It's the thought, it's the anticipation. And so trust a little bit that once you're just there, you just kind of go. And it may not be the most perfect or graceful or whatever it happens to be at first, but it doesn't need to be that to be impactful and powerful and connective. It's just every single little step forward, you're going to get better and better and better and more comfortable as you go.
So Penny said, what if I don't have education or teaching? It's a product. So same thing. It's like you make these candles and you're like, oh, I just wanted to show you guys what I was making. By the way, maybe I'll show you one day how I make these, but I really love this one because this one is, it's like pumpkin spice. And this reminds me of when I used to go to my grandma's for Thanksgiving and it always smelled like this. And, she lived in Rhode Island and it's so beautiful there. Have anyone been to Providence? Type of one, you've been to Providence. Like talk about what you make. Right? Talk about what you make. And I make, I upcycle clothing and here's a shirt I just made. You want to see something else? Well, yeah, I'm working on this pattern. By the way, which pattern do you guys like? I was thinking of making socks. Do you like this one or this one? Oh, cool. Awesome. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is that you make. Nicole Walters, I was just mentioning before, her daughter makes all these kinds of things. And so she'll talk about it and be like, oh, here's the different styles, here's the different patterns. And she talks about her story of why she even got into this. She actually had stage 4 cancer, a young person. That's really, really scary. She survived that. So she talks about that too sometimes. People find that really, really beautiful, whatever it is. My friend Cynthia makes these dresses for kids, these twirly girl dresses. And she talks about when she was a kid, how she like always dreamed of having this kind of a childhood, and they make them funny. And she puts on little, like her own little cute kitty, like headbands and stuff like that. And talks to moms about how like, this is going to make them the best mom in the world because and it's true. My kids have them and I'm not joking. My kids live in those dresses. So you could just talk and you'll notice that the people you follow, they're going to, again, talk about those other things in their life. Let me ask you this. What content do you like to see? What do you like people to talk about? Do you like people to just come on with lots of advice? Do you like people just to show you all their products? Or do you like it if you see somebody doing a tutorial and then they talk about the guy they're dating? What do you like? What do you guys like to watch? What video or who said something recently and it was something that you like loved or you shared it? What was the last thing that you shared? Was it funny? Right? The last thing I shared was something David Spade. He was like watching 2 cats playing and he was like pretending. He was like, it's not your fault, dude. It's like one cat was touching like, no, it's not your fault. He's like, okay, are you on Adderall? You're insane. You're nuts. He was like one cat talking to another cat. I just It was so funny. The personifying of animals makes me laugh, so I shared it. Motivational, yeah, I like that stuff too. Stories, what's going on in my life. So I will tell you that from a like sort of marketing data driven perspective, people will say you should talk every day in your stories live. Like people will say, talking about your morning routine, like, oh, here's what I just did. I just finished doing a client call and now I'm going to go do this and I got to pick up my kids and had something healthy for breakfast, but then I ate a whole pack of chocolate licorice. Like they tell you to do that. Because people do want to follow along in your life. Like we're very voyeuristic. Like people love checking out what you're just doing in your life.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't seem exciting to us because it's our life. And we're like, isn't that mundane? It's like, no, look at all of the HGTV shows now. Years ago, they never put their personal lives in it. And now what happens?
Right.
We see their personal lives and the design side of the show. It's because that's what the audience wants, right?
So true.
Yeah. Okay. And we are going to talk lots more about events because we have your super special bonus, the Lightning Launch Lab, that's coming up September 23rd and 24th, which is 2 days. We're going to have 2 workshops over those 2 days where we're going to dive into more detail and talk about some of those bigger events, right? So putting together more of those launch style, like 3 or 5 day challenges, kind of like Your Soul's Calling was, and the different aspects and things you want to think about and consider as you're selling your offers on a kind of a larger scale. So we've got lots of good stuff to share with you then.
That'll be 2 whole days, and I'll share things with you about how like we warm everybody up for a week before we go live and the kinds of questions we ask. And I'll talk to you about the little pieces of homework you give people and how you can open up your offer on the end of the week. And so that's going to be a 2-day thing to show you for when you're ready, which that doesn't have to be now, but you can file that training away for when you're ready for it. But just know that I'm going to show you my entire launch plan, how I launch, what I figured out from launching, what works, how many like fast action bonuses to give, when to give fast action bonuses. But this doesn't feel like the right week to just pile that on you. And you guys got this bonus anyway. So it's going to be just like you had the summit. You're going to have 2 days where I'm just going to teach you and we're going to talk with some other people and experts, like just about launching, like how do you launch? We'll talk also about, other things you might need to know about Facebook ads. And that'll be just like a big deal 2-day event, just talking about bigger events. But this is a good place to be. It'd be awesome. It's kind of like when your piano teacher says, practice your arpeggios, practice your chords. You're like, I don't want to, it's so boring. And then you keep going to piano lessons and you're just not getting any better because you don't practice in between lessons. And it's the same thing if people tell you how to get, healthier. Like, did you drink water? Did you move your body? Not today, not today, not today. I'm telling you, as sure as I'm sitting here, because, they say, trust the science, read the data. It's like, well, I can tell you from life experience and also from what the data says, if you do this, if you start going live and making your offer, there is a certain conversion number, which seems to just be the conversion number, right? People have a conversion number. We've found it. We've tested it in a million different ways. And oh my God, it drives me nuts because we will launch and launch and launch. And I'm like, I know it's going to be a different conversion. It's like the same conversion number. It's like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. It really is true. There's data for this, right? There's data for this. Just like a woman, typically at this age range, she ovulates this many days apart. She gets this age. It's like, darn it, it's true. It's true. It's like, well, there's statistics and there's things. If you launch and you do these unsexy steps, if you go live, if you put your offer out, oh my God, you're going to start to sell stuff. And I wonder sometimes if that scares you more than everything else because you don't do it. And it's like, oh, well, when I'm in flow state and I'm not scared, that scares me because I'm like losing my ego. I need my ego. My ego protects me. So I got to let my mind come back in because my mind, that's my ego, the analytical mind. That's where my ego gets to be the star. So I got to hold on to my ego because my ego protects me from just like getting lost in the flow, being too successful and too in the flow that I start not worrying what people think of me. Ooh, I start to just like say things and be spontaneous, and nobody knows who I'm becoming anymore. My husband doesn't recognize me. My best friend doesn't recognize me. Like, ooh, oh my God. It's so good. It's so good when you lose your way because your ego died a death, right? It just died. So that's why on this today's episode of the podcast, I was talking to this guy, Gray Malin. How many of you know who he is? He's so talented. If you don't know who he is and you look him up, you're going to go, oh, I know who he is. This is his thing. You know how you've all seen this photo one zillion times? I'm going to show you his stuff. Everything's so pretty that he does. So which one do I show you? Well, he does things that look like this. That's the ocean. He does things that look like, I mean, this is one of his most famous paintings. You guys seen this? It's not a painting. Sorry. Photo. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing it up is because on the podcast today, we talked about how he wanted to go shoot an aerial view of a pool in South Beach. And he went and he asked the hotel if he could get on the roof. I was like, no. So he couldn't get on the roof. So I was like, darn it. He's like, well, how else could I shoot the pool? He's like, well, I guess I could Google helicopter Miami, gets him in a helicopter, finally gets the guy, gets there, he goes up, rainstorm. Oh God, can't see the pool. It's rainy, it's cloudy. He's like, oh God. So he puts his head in his hands, puts his camera down. The helicopter starts to move away from the pool. And he's like, can you just drive over to the beach? Drives over to the beach. He's like, why is this the worst day ever? Nothing's going right. And he saw the beach. And he's like, wait. Can you just coast? Can you just fly over the beach here? And he starts shooting the beach from up there. And it became viral, iconic. He made multi millions of dollars. And then he started shooting beaches everywhere. New Zealand, Barcelona, everywhere started shooting beaches. Then he started shooting the desert. He just kept going because he just followed the magic. He got out of his own plan and was like, well, that plan's not working. Oh, that was a gift because I wasn't supposed to shoot the pool. I was supposed to shoot the beach and those umbrellas. Oh my God, that is so unbelievable. So we have to keep looking for the magic. What happens is then we let go of the ego's plans and we flow. We just go into the flow state. If you do this, you will be letting go of your grip on that your ego has on you. That's scary. Your ego is like, I got you. I protect you. I decide what you say. I keep you from looking like an idiot. I keep you from getting hurt. Not so much. So if you let go of that, I mean, that's why when people talk about improv actors, like Will Ferrell is so funny because he has no idea what's about to come out of his mouth. Like it's totally spontaneous. How much has he had to let go of control? It's like, hello, Miss Lady. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, he's insane. It's so fun. It's so funny. You can tell as he's saying it and he's like, well, I don't like your chin. And it's just like, that's the funniest thing because he just said it on the spot, right? You need to see what happens when you just start to do these things, and then you will sell stuff. Now, there's a few pieces to the selling, right? It's not just about going live. It's also about making sure that what you say, they can hear what you said, right? So we have to start to learn, what are we really selling? Like, how do we finesse? And we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to keep talking about sales and how we unpack sales and how there's a psychology to making sure you use the language that they use, right? Like, my audience says, I want to quit my job. So if I were to say the Millionaires Club, I'm telling you, it wouldn't be as tantalizing as the Quitters Club because people's language is quit. I want to quit. Talk about it all the time. I get notes from people, oh, my wife says one more time she wants to quit. I'm going to scream, please help her, So use their language. There's so many things that we're going to teach you about the sale, but eventually you're just going to know it. You're just going to know what's right, what's not right. You're just going to understand. You're going to just know, just the way you know social cues, right? At this point, unless you're just a sociopath, most people understand what you say and what you don't say. You don't ask a woman if she's pregnant, you get the memo. There's certain things not to do. Same thing with sales. You're going to start to go, they say this, so I say this. I don't sell this. I sell the outcome, the promise. What's the thing that they really want it for? What's the reason, the emotion? I tell my story. I focus on them. We're going to help you unpack the promise and all of that. Okay. But going live and continuing to go live is going to help you overcome all of this resistance.